We're kicking off with WWE Raw, which opened with a segment that had a very familiar vibe, one that longtime fans of Roman Reigns' Bloodline era would instantly recognize. Paul Heyman, joined by Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and the newest member Bronson Reed, introduced the WWE Universe to a revamped faction. While Heyman didn't drop an official name during this segment, online buzz suggests WWE may be moving forward with the name The Vision for the emerging faction. Heyman then hyped up Breaker as a multi-time WrestleMania main eventer in the making and labeled Reed so dangerous that WWE was afraid to put him in the ring with top talent. He soon shifted the spotlight to Rollins himself. Dropping to his knees in a pose eerily similar to the one he once used for Roman Reigns, Heyman declared, "Acknowledge Seth Rollins." That moment triggered a mixed reaction. Fans began chanting "We want Roman," followed by boos for Rollins, another chapter in what's been a complicated relationship between Rollins and the WWE Universe since WrestleMania 41. He gets cheered on entrance, booed once he grabs a mic, and this time, when the architect spoke about his Money in the Bank chances, the crowd went a step further with chants of "Q Rollins." As for Roman Reigns himself, he isn't advertised for Money in the Bank on June 7th, but he is listed for SummerSlam weekend on August 2nd and 3rd. His status for Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia on June 28th remains uncertain for now. Later in the night, the new faction made its presence felt in the main event, a triple threat Money in the Bank qualifying match featuring Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, and Finn Balor. Just as Zayn was lining up a haluva kick on Rollins' new enforcers, Breaker and Reed intervened. The chaos escalated as Jey Uso ran down to even the odds, but Dominic Mysterio of the Judgment Day wasn't far behind. He slid a steel chair into the ring for Balor, but Rollins capitalized on the opportunity, hitting a curb stomp on the chair to score the pin and qualify for Money in the Bank. Post-match, Rollins ordered Breaker and Reed to dismantle Jey Uso, but that's when CM Punk's music hit. Reed and Breaker charged up the ramp to confront him, only for Punk to sneak in from the crowd and deliver a thunderous GTS to Rollins. The show ended with Punk standing tall, while Breaker looked on, seething, teasing a future collision between the two. Now Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer Radio weighed in on the real logic behind Reed's addition to the faction. According to Alvarez, WWE sees Breaker as a protected asset, a future WrestleMania main eventer, and they don't want him to take losses this early in his rise. That's where Reed fits in. He adds muscle to the group and can take the fall when needed without damaging the faction's credibility. What do you think? Was WWE's reasoning for adding Bronson Reed fair? Do you like the creative direction of the Vision? And would you like to see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins down the line? Let us know in the comments below. WWE continued building momentum toward Money in the Bank while closing out its run of shows in Tampa, delivering a chaotic, high-stakes episode packed with major storyline developments. One of the night's standout matches was a high-octane men's Money in the Bank qualifying triple threat featuring American-made's Chad Gable, LWO's Dragon Lee, and Penta, who brought his Lucha Libre flair and AEW credibility to the mix. Penta wasted no time in showcasing his strength, but he faced stiff competition. Early in the match, Penta and Lee teamed up to neutralize Gable, but the alliance quickly dissolved. Things got intense when Penta attempted a piledriver-style move on Gable, and Gable appeared to land awkwardly on his neck. The moment looked concerning as Gable seemed dazed and rolled out of the ring. However, by the time the show returned from the commercial break, he was back in action. The referee's immediate check-in made it clear that this was an unplanned and dangerous moment. Another jaw-dropping spot came when Gable had Penta laid out on the announce desk. Lee launched himself from inside the ring, aiming for Gable, but Gable smartly moved out of the way, causing Lee to crash directly into Penta. Ringside AAA megastar Vikingo, Gable's scheduled opponent at Worlds Collide during Money in the Bank weekend, was keeping a close watch. After the table spot, Gable left the ring to confront him, and the two got into a heated shouting match. But it didn't stop there. Gable shoved Vikingo into the crowd, escalating the rivalry to the next level. Vikingo didn't take that lightly. As Gable climbed the ropes to hit his signature moonsault, Vikingo pulled him down and delivered a brutal kick to the head, busting Gable open in dramatic fashion. Penta seized the moment, nailing Lee with a Mexican destroyer, followed by a Penta driver on Gable for the win. With that victory, Penta officially qualifies for his first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. He'll now join Solo Sikoa and LA Knight in the high-risk bout scheduled for June 7th. The segment was praised for its fast pace, layered storytelling, and impactful booking. Not only did it continue Gable's rising vendetta against Lucha Libre, but it also introduced Vikingo in a major way and solidified Penta as a serious contender heading into the ladder match. Backstage, PW Torch reports that Gable was immediately attended to by WWE's medical team following the match. All concussion protocols were followed due to the scary neck landing, and Penta, who was reportedly shaken by the incident, offered a sincere apology backstage. What did you make of this triple threat match? Did you enjoy how WWE blended chaos, character development, and great in-ring action? Do you see Penta as a favorite to win the Money in the Bank, or should someone else have taken the spot? Drop your thoughts in the comments. WWE dropped a major spoiler throughout Raw regarding Vikingo, who is set to challenge Alberto Del Rio for the AAA Mega Championship on May 31st. Vikingo heads into that match without a title, but WWE advertised Vikingo's match against Gable at Worlds Collide as a AAA Mega Championship match. That might have been a genuine mistake, but it could also be a significant spoiler for the upcoming AAA show. Vikingo winning could have been the plan all along, which would negatively impact fan interest in that title match. Vikingo continued to influence the show in a backstage segment where he argued with Gable, only for AJ Styles to get involved once the AAA star had walked away. The Phenomenal One attacked Gable when he turned around and warned him not to interrupt his match again, as he had done during Styles' recent tag team match. Styles had teamed with Penta to face Balor and JD McDonough, but Gable got involved, and his interference cost Styles the match. It's something the WWE veteran has not forgotten, and a storyline between the two of them is now brewing. Do you want to see Styles take on Gable down the line, and do you believe this is the right feud for Styles at this stage in his career? Sound off in the comments. The tag team division also heated up on Raw as New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defended their tag team titles against the Creed Brothers and the War Raiders in another three-way match. Early on, the two heel teams opted to form an alliance to work over the War Raiders and take the former champions. Eric was heavily focused during this time as his opponents brutalized him. However, eventually he made a hot tag to Ivar, who cleaned out everyone in sight for a period due to his strength and power. He tossed his opponents around the ring, but as the action broke down, the champions retained their gold. Ivar seemingly had things under control after hitting a crossbody on Kingston outside the ring, breaking the LED board in the process. He scaled the turnbuckles to finish Woods off with a top rope move. However, Julius Creed ran and leapt off of prone Woods, nailing him with a knee strike. That sent Ivar to the floor, but as Julius was tangled up in the turnbuckles, Woods rolled him up to gain a victory that felt like the champions had stolen a win. It was a perfectly fine match between three talented teams, but a severe lack of crowd investment continues to be an issue for the tag division on Raw. The creative team needs to focus on providing some actual story between these teams outside of them, who are fighting each other for gold, because the lack of emotional stakes is creating a disconnect. The World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso attempted to promote his upcoming tag team match at Money in the Bank, but Gunther swooped in and interrupted him immediately. Ring General made it clear that Jey holding the title doesn't come naturally to him, as he criticized the former Bloodline star for not having what it takes. Gunther vowed to dethrone him in 2 weeks to show him how a real champion behaves, but Uso wasn't going to take that silently this week. He vowed to make Gunther tap out again, just as he did at WrestleMania 41. While Gunther told him to be selfish, Uso made it clear that he's proud of the fact that he takes care of his friends and family. That's the fighting spirit fans have come to know Uso for, and it has helped to make him popular. This is a feeling he echoed earlier in the night during a backstage segment with Sami Zayn. Jey made it clear he'd have Zayn's back on the main event if Rollins' group got involved, and he stayed true to his word on that. Uso is set to defend his title against Gunther 2 nights after Money in the Bank on Raw, which will be a high-profile match for the Red brand. However, it is taking place on Raw rather than a premium live event, so it's doubtful he'll lose the title. That's because the big money match is a showdown with Rollins, presumably at SummerSlam, in a significant singles match to add to that show between two top stars. However, that doesn't mean Uso will get a clean win against Gunther. It wouldn't be a surprise to see a screwy finish to protect Gunther, one of the roster's most believable threats. With that in mind, how do you feel about the feud between Uso and Gunther? How emotionally invested are you in this feud, which has existed since the Royal Rumble? Let us know in the comments. Before Raw began, WWE made a significant announcement on X by revealing that Becky Lynch will be getting another shot at Lyra Valkyria's Women's Intercontinental title despite losing at Backlash. The champion was unimpressed by that, and WWE showcased that as she was informed when walking into the Yuengling Center in Tampa, Florida. The champion made it clear that she's beaten the man twice now, as she reminded fans of her NXT Women's title win over Lynch. However, Valkyria said she's ready to do it again at Money in the Bank, clearly not being short of confidence. That was clear during her in-ring promo later in the night, where she stated that Lynch weaseled her way into another title shot. Lynch appeared and disagreed, stating that she was initially going to leave things after Backlash, as she got to go home to her hot husband, while Valkyria was in the hospital with her weird fiancé. This led to Lynch believing she won the night overall. However, the man believes that Valkyria has made things personal, so she's coming after the gold again. Lynch admitted that if she doesn't win at Money in the Bank, she won't challenge Valkyria again. On the other hand, Lynch demanded that Valkyria raise her hand after the match if she wins. The segment ultimately added nothing new of note to the storyline between them. Their heel and babyface dynamic has been established, and these promos only serve to hype up their upcoming match. However, Lynch's demand for her arm to be raised is unique and showcases her lack of respect. Having the man unable to go after the title again if she loses will also add some new stakes to the encounter in a bid to make it feel different from what they've already done. Elsewhere in the women's division, Liv Morgan returned to WWE television after her recent hiatus to film a movie. She was shown backstage where the Judgment Day star stumbled upon Roxanne Perez offering Dominic Mysterio chicken nuggies and a shoulder rub. Morgan vowed to deal with that situation, which she didn't want to escalate. Later in the night, she and Raquel Rodriguez were seen walking to Adam Pearce's office, where they crossed paths with Io Sky and the recently returned Kairi Sane. Tensions rose quickly as Liv took a shot at Sane's defeat in her first match back, which led to a singles match between them being set up. That match saw Rodriguez and Perez attempt to interfere on Morgan's behalf, but despite their best efforts, Sane scored the surprise victory. The result saw tensions rise even further, with Rodriguez blaming the Prodigy. At the same time, Morgan questioned her tag team partner for not controlling the situation, suggesting cracks forming in their alliance. Perez's presence was the only clear disruption that led to Morgan losing, and the growing friction seems to be pointing toward an eventual showdown between the two ladies. Morgan stormed into the Judgment Day locker room after the loss to vent her frustrations about the situation. Rodriguez was quick to blame Perez once again, but Morgan called out Raquel for not taking charge, given that she was the more experienced partner. Things ended sourly between them, with this not being the welcome back to WWE that Morgan had hoped for. Morgan was visibly upset, and Rodriguez was equally frustrated, which could be seen as WWE setting the stage for an eventual split between them. On the other hand, the victory for Sane was crucial. She fell short in the Money in the Bank qualifier last week and was then pinned clean by Rhea Ripley, which impacted her momentum. But defeating a former women's champion will go a long way in restoring faith in her in the eyes of the fans. Rusev was back in the ring this week as his WWE return continues to dominate. He faced an undersized Akira Tozawa, and despite the comedic wrestler getting off to a hot start, he ended up being destroyed by a Machka kick and an accolade as the former AEW star picked up a routine win. Rusev then refused to break the hold as he showed a menacing attitude, but Sheamus made the save. An intense stare-down between the two men took place, with Rusev backing down and leaving, but it's clear that WWE is now moving in this direction. A feud against Sheamus will give Rusev a more competitive opponent, which sets up a physical encounter down the line. Sheamus continues to prove that he's one of the most selfless stars on the roster who is willing to work with anyone. There aren't many world champions willing to work consistent feuds such as this, where they are likely to end up losing. But how would you book a rivalry between Sheamus and Rusev? Let us know below. Rhea Ripley's been going through one of the toughest spells of her career regarding results, but she told WWE fans that "Mommy's always on top" wasn't just a catchphrase. The former Judgment Day star promised to change her fortunes at Money in the Bank. Ripley pointed out that it's the first time in her career that she's in a ladder match, which means everyone else isn't safe, and she's going to cement herself at the top of the division again. She gave an ominous warning to the current champions that nobody is safe from Money in the Bank. Backstage on Raw, Karrion Kross once again intercepted Sami Zayn just as he was heading to the ring, continuing his psychological warfare that he's been waging for months. Kross coldly reminded Zayn that he'll never be champion. Unfazed, Zayn brushed him off, but not before promising to handle Kross in due time. Meanwhile, in the background, eagle-eyed viewers caught a glimpse of Grayson Waller and New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. While it's unclear what went down between the two, their unexpected presence together is sure to spark speculation. With another episode of Raw in the books, how would you rate this week's episode? Did it provide the right level of drama and fallout from Saturday night's main event, while also pushing forward to Money in the Bank? Was there enough in-ring action for you? Let us know in the comments. Over on the Blue brand, Aleister Black has been making his presence known since making his shocking return to WWE. He recently admitted to the Atomic Drop newsletter that he was nervous about returning at first, but that faded to black when he saw some familiar faces. He made it clear that the mix of familiarity and change made him feel comfortable and that he was back where he belonged. Black also explained that he has a strong relationship with Triple H and Nick Khan, which made his transition easier. Black believes WWE has the best locker room he's ever been a part of, and he explained why he has not experienced anything like this before. It just felt really good. It felt like coming home, and I know that sounds somewhat cliche, but I've never experienced that feeling of coming home in that sense, and I think that was the first time I could ever say it felt like coming home and everything made sense again. Nothing is like WWE, no locker room I've ever been in, and it just felt like this is what it's supposed to be for me, you know? It appears that the former NXT champion is glad to be back in the WWE system after 4 years away, but how do you feel about Aleister Black's return? Do you think his second run will be even more successful than his first? Sound off in the comments below. Away from WWE, this year's AEW Double or Nothing event was held at the Desert Diamond Arena in Arizona, and it featured a dramatic AEW Women's World title match. The encounter was hard-hitting, with both competitors leaving it all in the ring, but Toni Storm managed to come out on top after nailing the Storm Zero. However, it was the aftermath that had everyone talking as the two competitors locked lips to celebrate the match in a moment that PW Insider revealed had been approved by AEW's creative team. What's your take on how AEW has booked their women's division at this point? Do you think that timeless Toni Storm has a great gimmick? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And we're ending with legendary commentator Jim Ross, who has revealed that he expects to be at AEW's All In Texas, despite the fact he's set to undergo surgery as he continues his battle against colon cancer.